In April 2020, the United States Pentagon did something it had never done before in its 75-year history. It officially released 3 videos of unidentified aerial phenomena, objects moving in ways that defied every known law of physics, and it handed those videos to the public without explanation. But here's what nobody talked about. The same week those videos dropped, Raytheon Technologies closed a $121 billion merger, one of the largest defense deals in American history. Quiet, clean, almost invisible in the news cycle. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you follow the money, really follow it, you find that the UFO story and the defense M&A story are the same story. And the people getting rich are not who you think. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand how 5 companies came to control the entire US military-industrial complex, and why that's the most important business story of the last 30 years that nobody is teaching you. Let's go back to 1993. The Cold War just ended. The Soviet Union collapsed. And the US government suddenly didn't think it needed to fund 51 separate major defense contractors anymore. So the Pentagon did something extraordinary. It held what insiders called the Last Supper. Defense Secretary Les Aspin and Deputy Secretary William Perry literally gathered the CEOs of America's biggest defense firms for a private dinner in 1993 and told them directly, "We are cutting the defense budget. Half of you will not survive. You need to consolidate or die." This was the government telling private industry to merge. That almost never happens. And merge they did. Between 1993 and 1997 alone, the US defense sector saw over $55 billion in mergers and acquisitions, a number confirmed by the Government Accountability Office in its landmark 1998 report on defense industry consolidation. Lockheed bought Martin Marietta in 1995 for $10 billion, creating Lockheed Martin overnight. The combined company immediately became the world's largest defense contractor. Boeing swallowed McDonnell Douglas in 1997 for $13.3 billion, wiping out one of America's most iconic aviation brands in a single transaction. Raytheon absorbed Hughes Aircraft, a company originally founded by Howard Hughes himself from General Motors, for $9.5 billion in 1997. Northrop bought Grumman in 1994, then tried to buy Lockheed Martin. The government blocked it. Too much power in one place. By 2000, what had been 51 meaningful players was now effectively 5 dominant primes: Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics. 5 companies. 1 customer, the US government. And that customer has a budget that, in 2024, hit $886 billion. The largest military budget in American history. Now let's talk about the deal that changed everything in the modern era. In April 2020, yes, the same month those Pentagon UAP videos dropped, Raytheon Technologies officially completed its merger with United Technologies Corporation, valued at approximately $121 billion in a stock-for-stock deal. This wasn't just a defense deal. United Technologies owned Pratt & Whitney, the company that makes the engines for the F-35 fighter jet, the most expensive weapons program in human history at over $1.7 trillion in lifetime cost, confirmed by the Congressional Budget Office. The newly formed Raytheon Technologies instantly became the second largest defense contractor on Earth by revenue, pulling in $74 billion in its first year combined. Here's the M&A education moment. This deal was structured as a merger of equals, meaning no cash changed hands at the shareholder level. Instead, UTC shareholders received Raytheon shares. This structure avoided a massive taxable event and preserved cash for R&D and further acquisitions. Smart? Absolutely. Legal? Completely. But it also meant 2 aerospace and defense giants combined their government contract pipelines, their lobbying operations, and their classified program portfolios with barely a whisper of public debate. The DOJ approved it with minor divestitures. The deal closed, and Wall Street barely blinked. Now here's where this gets genuinely extraordinary, because the facts here are already remarkable enough without embellishment. In July 2023, A former US intelligence official named David Grush testified before Congress under oath that the US government runs classified programs involving non-human intelligence and recovered technologies. His testimony was not dismissed. It triggered a formal congressional investigation. Now here is the business fact that nobody in finance media is connecting. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2024, signed into law by President Biden, included landmark UAP transparency provisions championed by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. These provisions created the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, known as ARO, and mandated disclosure of classified UAP programs to Congress. Why does this matter for M&A? Because classified government programs, whether UAP-related or conventional black budget programs, are almost exclusively contracted out to private defense firms operating as special access program contractors. The black budget, the classified portion of US defense and intelligence spending, was estimated at approximately $86.5 billion in fiscal year 2023, according to data compiled from disclosed budget documents by the Federation of American Scientists. Who runs those contracts? The same 5 companies. Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division in Palmdale, California, the division that built the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird, and the F-117 stealth fighter, is explicitly structured to handle classified contracts. Northrop Grumman built the B-21 Raider stealth bomber under a contract worth an estimated $203 billion over its life cycle, as reported by the Congressional Budget Office in 2023. These are legal, contracted, taxpayer-funded programs flowing into publicly traded companies. Companies you can buy stock in today. The UAP conversation, whether you believe it or not, is unlocking scrutiny of classified budgets that have been invisible to the public for decades. And that scrutiny is going to surface M&A activity, contract awards, and technology acquisitions that will reshape this industry. Let's talk about a deal that almost didn't happen and what it reveals about the power of this industry. In December 2021, Lockheed Martin announced it would acquire Aerojet Rocketdyne, America's last independent rocket motor manufacturer, for $4.4 billion. This deal would have given Lockheed Martin control over the solid rocket motors that power missiles sold by Raytheon, Northrop, and others. Effectively, Lockheed would have become the fuel supplier for its own competitors' products. The FTC blocked it in February 2022, citing serious antitrust concerns. It was one of the clearest examples in modern history of regulators drawing a hard line in defense M&A. But then, L3Harris stepped in December 2022. L3 Harris, itself the product of a 2019 merger between L3 Technologies and Harris Corporation, acquired Aerojet Rocketdyne for $4.7 billion. Slightly richer deal, cleaner regulatory profile, approved. L3 Harris is now the 6th largest defense contractor in the United States. And it got there almost entirely through M&A, not organic growth. That is the private equity playbook applied to defense: roll up assets, create scale, and harvest the government contract pipeline. Let's break down how defense acquisitions actually work, because it is not like buying a regular company. When any buyer tries to acquire a US defense contractor, they face a review by CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. This is a multi-agency government body with the power to block or unwind any deal that threatens national security. Beyond CFIUS, defense contractors holding classified contracts are subject to FOCI rules, foreign ownership, control, or influence regulations, enforced by the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. This means the pool of potential buyers is intentionally small. You cannot be a foreign state-backed fund and buy a piece of Northrop Grumman. It is structurally illegal. And this is actually what makes defense acquisitions so lucrative for the companies inside the wall. Competition is legally restricted. The customer, the US government, cannot simply switch suppliers overnight, and contracts run for decades, not quarters. For investors watching this space, defense M&A is arguably the most structurally protected M&A market in the world. Here's what you now know that most people, even people on Wall Street, don't connect in a single picture. The US defense industry went from 51 companies to 5 in less than a decade because the government told them to merge. Those 5 companies now share an $886 billion annual customer. They're classified contract pipelines, funded by an $86 billion black budget, are largely invisible to the public. And the UAP conversation now unfolding in Congress is, at its financial core, a conversation about accountability for money that has flowed into these very companies for decades. Whether UAPs are real or not, the money is absolutely real, and it is concentrated in a way that should make every investor, every entrepreneur, and every citizen pay attention. If you want to understand how power actually works in America, follow the mergers, follow the acquisitions, follow the contracts. That is what this channel is about. Hit subscribe, because next week we're covering the deal that handed one private equity firm control over the water supply of an entire American city, and how they did it completely legally. You're not going to want to miss it.